Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for watching and reading all of our materials. I am going to go into a little more depth into specific strategies that you can use for narrative intervention, specifically with younger clients who are working on identifying story grammar elements as well as beginning to do their own story retells. So you guys may have heard of the story grammar marker. It is a purchasable material, and they've got a lot of other materials on their website, but the idea can be used in other formats. You can make your own materials, but the basis is that it contains the critical narrative elements using a visual guide. So here on the left, we see the character, setting, kickoff, which is what instigates the actions, the internal response of the characters, and then the plan, and then all the attempts and actions, the direct consequence of those attempts and actions, and then finally the resolution. So you don't have to purchase the official story grammar marker to take advantage of it. You can make your own materials, you can make variations, make it more complex or less complex depending on the skill level and goals of your client. And now I'm going to go through some facilitative reading strategies. These are referenced from the Paul Norbury and Goss textbook that we have. We're not making you read any chapters from there, but I still wanted to go through some of these strategies because I like them and I've used them before. So strategy 1 is summarize as you go. This might seem a little intuitive, but as you're reading together with your client, have regular pauses in the story so that you can recap what you have read so far and ask questions to check for understanding to make sure that they're aware of the sequence of events that's happening. And this is where you can pause and check if you're working on goals for them to identify story grammar elements. You can pause after the first couple pages and ask a question such as, who is our main character? Or who is the star of our story? Strategy number 2, explain and define new words. So if a child is unsure of what a word means in the story, of course, depending on their skill level, you can either help them decode what the word means using context clues of the story and what's happening, or you can just give them a definition and give examples that make sense in the context of the book. And then, of course, reread the sentence with that newly defined word so that solidifies. A third strategy is clarifying pronoun preference. This is helpful for clients who struggle with pronouns, which is common with clients who have language deficits. So using who questions to check understanding on pronoun use. So who went to the store, who stayed home, who is going to go to the park, things like that. And the hope is that they use the correct pronoun and referring to the correct character in reference to your question. The fourth strategy is to provide cohesive ties. So this is a little similar to summarizing, but you're kind of breaking down a sentence even further than just summarizing it. So you're kind of extending the sentence into more details. So for my example down here, we just read that the pig had to go to the store. The pig must have needed something to eat, and so this is why he went to the store. He probably didn't have any food at home. So if the original sentence in the story was that the pig went to the store, we can extend that further to provide more details and solidify the ideas of the actions of the main characters in the story. And I want to go back and talk about this real quick. So in the other video that we have where I provide an example of a narrative intervention that I've done with a client, I use cutout pictures from the actual storybook. So sometimes I will actually photocopy the characters straight from the book that we're going to be using and cut them out, or I'll use lesson pics and find characters that are similar to the ones in the story. And for my client, it was really helpful for them to actually tangibly feel the images and interact with them and put them up on the mirror or on a board in kind of a linear fashion, as you'll see in my example video. And that can be really helpful for clients who need those extra supports and that extra visual guide. Of course, if you want to reduce that hierarchy, you can reduce the visual supports and just do verbal elements and not have any visual supports. But of course, that's going to depend on the skill level of your client and where they are with their current goals. Okay, thank you for listening.